Right now at 6 o'clock, a person is dead after a shooting overnight. Police say you need to be on the lookout.
One person is hurt in a theater shooting. The shooter says it was an accident.
Plus, bracing for a blizzard. The Northeast is ready for an epic storm.
Live and local from Fox 7, this is Good Day Austin.
6 o'clock on your Friday morning. Thanks for joining us. Shelves are pretty bare up there. Hope everybody's got their snacks up in the Northeast.
Milk and bread gone.
Oh, man.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, not the case around here, even though the weather has changed a bit today.
Yeah, I'm going to feel kind of bad with that weather going downhill quite a bit out east because it's going to be pretty tranquil around here after we shake off the gusty winds today. Looking good as we roll into the weekend. Now, the latest winter storm didn't produce a whole lot of precipitation. It was a big-time wind machine. We had wind gusts area-wide 35 to 45 miles per hour, ushering in that winter chill. It keeps getting colder and colder, more 30s than 40s. Temperatures running 15 to 25 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. And it feels even colder than that. Factor in that wind out of the north. You better bundle up. That cold wind's going to go right through you. It feels like it's freezing outside with wind chills in the upper 20s, low 30s. But at least the sun will be out in full force today, only warming us up into the upper 40s, low 50s. We'll see if this cold weather will linger all the way through the weekend. Coming up in just a few moments.
All right, Zach, thanks. Let's check in with Randy Taylor on this Friday morning. Hey, Randy.
Hey there, Dave. It's going to be a pretty easy drive for you this morning. You can see here 35 near Powell Lane. There are a few cars out there, but you still are going to be able to keep a good pace. Now, we do have Powell Lane closed down between Georgian and 35. As Amanda mentioned, there was a shooting earlier this morning, so police are investigating that, and Powell Lane is closed down. But we also have an accident working southbound 183 at Loyola Lane. This one's not going to cause you any extra delays to your morning commute. But before you get to that accident on southbound 183, if you're traveling southbound from the toll road to the 35 ramps, you're looking at just over a 10-minute drive. I'm Randy Taylor, Fox 7 Traffic.
A shooting in North Austin leaves one person dead.
And you just heard about that mentioned during traffic. Fox 7's Tanya Ortega live out there with the latest. Tanya?
Hey, good morning, Dave and Amanda. We're at the 300 block of East Powell Lane here in North Austin. And as you can tell behind me, still a very active scene as crime scene investigators as well as police are still here. Also homicide investigators. They tell us that right around 3 a.m. a 911 call came in about a shooting. Officers did come to the residence and found a victim at the location with a gunshot wound and was transported to the area. That person was pronounced dead around 3:40 this morning. Now at this point, they don't have anyone in custody, but detectives are talking to witnesses, and they do have a description of the suspect. They're looking for a white male in his 20s with a stubble beard. He might be between 5'11" and 6 feet tall. He's also a muscular build. He was wearing a camo hat, a brown vest, and a dark undershirt with dark jeans. Witnesses say they saw him drive away in a Chevy four-wheel drive truck and a newer model. That whole thing happened just in front of the residence here on the north side of the street, and they are currently speaking to witnesses who were in the home. They don't believe there was any relationship between the witnesses and that suspect, but they don't know how or if the suspect knew the victim.
We have a potential homicide suspect that is not in custody right now. We'd like the public to call 512-472-TIPS. If they have any information about this, that's 512-472-8477.
The whole block is shut down because of this investigation. They do expect to be here for a little bit longer this morning as they keep on going through the scene and talking to witnesses. And again, if you heard or saw anything in this area around 3 a.m., you are asked to call police. We're going to send it back to you.
All right, Tanya, thank you very much.
A Washington woman is recovering and a suspect is in custody after a shooting at a movie theater. Police say the suspect was fumbling with a gun inside the theater when he shot the victim in her torso. Out of fear, the man reportedly fled the scene, setting off a police pursuit. But the 29-year-old turned himself in a little later, claiming it was an accident. The woman's been upgraded to stable condition. The shooting is currently under investigation.
It's been 43 years since the historic Roe versus Wade ruling giving women the right to an abortion. And today, supporters are planning a pro-choice rally at the Capitol. Texas House Bill 2 is expected to go before the Supreme Court on March 2nd. The court previously blocked two provisions of the law. One requires abortion facilities be constructed like surgical centers. The other allows doctors to perform abortions at clinics only if they have admitting privileges at a local hospital. Pro-choice groups say the regulations are only aimed at making it harder, if not impossible, for women to get abortions. If the new laws are allowed to go into effect, Texas would be left with just 10 abortion clinics. The rally starts at noon on the south steps of the Capitol. State Representative Donna Howard is scheduled to be one of the many speakers. A piano teacher is accused of molesting 2 girls in Cedar Park. Dustin Lee Whittlesley is charged with 2 counts of indecency to a child. Cedar Park police say he used the name Frederick Lowell when he taught the piano lessons to 2 young girls in their homes. The children told their mom and police that during several of the sessions, for as many as 7 months, the 34-year-old touched them inappropriately. According to court records, Whittlesley's victims were interviewed at the Williamson County Children's Advocacy Center. They can't talk about the case, but they did shed some light on how their process works.
Law enforcement is here, Child Protective Services, if they're involved in a case. We all meet here so that the child only has to talk about what's happened to them once. And we record that interview so that it goes with law enforcement.
Cedar Park police believe there may be more victims. They're asking any parents whose children may have had unsupervised contact with Whittlesley to call them.
Round Rock police need your help to identify a man who exposed himself at the outlet mall. Police say last month he exposed himself to a girl at the Nike outlet store. When her mother confronted him, the man said it was an accident and left before police arrived. The suspect is described as a white man in his 50s with gray and brown hair and facial hair. He has brown eyes and was wearing glasses. If you know who this man is, call Round Rock police.
Texting and driving is to blame for about a quarter of all crashes, despite those new laws banning the use of cell phones behind the wheel. A local attorney says Austin's hands-free ordinance hasn't reduced the number of distracted driving cases coming into his office. Fox 7's Jennifer Kendall has the story.
Myra Valdez was driving home November 9th when her ordinary commute took a dangerous turn.
I had a green light, so I started going forward, and the 18-wheeler came out of nowhere. The back part of the trailer caught onto my truck and dragged me for quite a few feet, and I was stuck in my truck until the ambulance showed up.
A victim on scene told police the driver of the 18-wheeler ran a stoplight at the intersection of the 130 Service Road and the Highway 290 frontage road.
So when the accident happened, I wasn't quite sure how it happened. I just instantly, my head started hurting. Most of the pain I felt was to my face. My eyes got swollen. There's a lot of glass everywhere. I just felt pain everywhere.
Police cited the driver for running a red light and checked a box stating the driver was using a cell phone at the time of the crash.
I think anybody that's on their phone needs to take precautions, because simply just the mere act of looking at a text or replying or even just answering a phone call distracts you for a moment. And something severe like this could happen. Just one moment causes such severe injuries.
Myra was lucky her injuries weren't worse, but she did suffer from a head contusion, an injury to her right knee, her left shoulder, and glass in her eye. Myra's waiting to see a neurologist because she's still experiencing symptoms of head trauma months after the accident.
She should be very lucky. I mean, if you look at how the accident happened and the points of impact, if it would have been about a half second earlier, it would have hit her on the driver's side door and she probably wouldn't be with us.
Attorney Brad Bonilla says stories like Myra's are all too common.
It seems like a majority of the cases that come into my office are cases where a driver is distracted and ends up causing a car wreck. Used to be the exception, now it seems like it's the rule.
Last year, the city of Austin passed a hands-free ordinance prohibiting the use of cell phones while driving or cycling. Bonilla says that hasn't slowed down the number of distracted driving cases coming into his office.
Unfortunately, I think the difference is that anytime there's an accident, people know that it's a law. And people are more susceptible now to try to blame the accident on something other than cell phone use.
And until people behind the wheel stop picking up the phone, drivers like Myra won't be safe.
I worry what would have happened to me and my family had this been much more severe, or if I would have been in a smaller vehicle. But I'm just really thankful that I'm okay for now, and I just hope this doesn't happen to anybody else.
That's Fox 7's Jennifer Kendall reporting. A recent CDC survey found nearly 45% of teens say they've texted while driving during the previous 30 days. It takes the average person 5 seconds to send a text. A driver going 55 miles per hour will approximately travel the length of a football field during that time.
The federal government is shutting its doors later today as much of the East Coast braces for impact. A massive winter storm is now bearing down on the region, with the nation's capital right in the bullseye. That's where Fox's Douglas Zader is this morning with more.
Trucks are deployed, store shelves are empty, and from space, you can see it.
Guess what? It's coming.
And with forecasters saying this could rival 2010's Snowmageddon, your nation's capital is crying uncle. Schools closed. The federal government shuts its doors at noon. Washington's subway system, even the large portion of it that runs underground, is calling it quits later today, not to reopen until Monday. And from Washington's mayor, an apology for failing to adequately handle a minor inch or two that fell here on Wednesday, causing a commuting nightmare.
Our city has a responsibility to residents and visitors to deliver essential services every single day. And last night we didn't meet those goals. And for that, we are very sorry.
The backup even ensnared President Obama, whose motorcade had to wait along with everyone else. And while he has ridiculed people in Washington before for overreacting to these things, this time he's taking a different approach.
My guess is the president will stay warm and toasty here inside the White House.
And for those who really revel in winter weather around here, there is some good news. This will be the first major snowfall since Congress told Capitol Police to knock it off and stop enforcing widely ridiculed rules that ban sledding on Capitol Hill.
That was Fox's Douglas Zader reporting.
All right, coming up, kicking the kids outside. We'll tell you why a Texas school district says it's increasing recess time.
And bring on the beards. Why not having one could lead to an infection. It is 38 degrees outside at 6:11.